when you said at the beginning of this meeting that painting is important, can you say why you think it's important now particularly?
Sure. I'll see if I can do it fairly briefly. What is happening now in particular with the arrival of the Trump administration and the rise of the oligarchs of the attentional economy with social media and Elon Musk and all that stuff. All of that is more and more insanity, but it is just a more extreme, flagrant version of a civilizational insanity that we've been living with, that's been developing for a couple hundred years, if not really thousands in a certain way. And we're out of whack. We're way out of balance in terms of our nature, in terms of living in balance with our home, which is the planet. And it turns out, and this is, I'm sure you got, I don't know where I talk about it and where I don't. It turns out we're out of balance in our brains between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. There's a unhealthy relationship that has taken hold, that's led us into this bizarre framework where the left hemisphere, and I can go into this more in depth, but the left hemisphere whose role is really to support the right. When you lay it out and you look at all the research, but the left hemisphere has taken control. It's hijacked the situation, and it's living in a fantasy land. And what we see in our world is just an outward development of all of that, and just has fed back. And so it's been a positive feedback that has increased the power of the left hemisphere. And the left hemisphere is really interested in utility, is not in touch with the reality of life. It's just a map that it is inside of. It's interested in power. It is not the part of the brain that serves empathy. That's the right hemisphere. Connection, that's the right hemisphere. Interconnectedness, that's all the right hemisphere.
So how does that make painting important?
Because there's no way to paint, there's no way to do any aesthetic activity in any authentic engagement without that activity being orchestrated and led by the right hemisphere. It's not that the left, it doesn't participate. It does. Of course, it's necessary. But the whole situation gets organized in a organic, healthy, appropriate relationship. That is what aesthetic engagement does. So there's something about what it means to paint genuinely, like where we can feel like, I don't know how that happened, right? Or I'm taking a risk, or I'm opening up, or I don't know what I'm doing, but something appears, all of that stuff. That is engaged, that is returning our system to a healthy brain organization. We're returning it to an appropriate relationship of the right and left hemisphere. And it also, that's why we feel a sense of relief. Our system is like, I feel normal. I feel in sync with being. Most of the time, when we are organizing our time and our day in relation to the outer world that we have come to take to be real, there's a disjunction, there's a flattening, there's a pressure, there's an anxiety, because we are out of sync with being. Because the world that we've created has been manufactured through the lens of the left hemisphere, not in appropriate relationship to the right hemisphere. And so everything is disjointed. Everything feels like this is weird, because it is. But because it's all over the place, we tend to think, no, I'm weird. No, I'm not fitting into this world, as if this world is what's healthy, but it's not, of course, and we know that. So there's something about the activity of painting. It doesn't only return us as individuals to our sense of balance, health. It does do that. But it also helps maintain that aspect of human engagement, human culture, human nature, human being. And we're going to need that, because this world that's been created through the lens of the left hemisphere in out of balance can't continue much longer, actually. In many, many, many ways, we are coming up against all kinds of limits. So it's important that we paint. It's important that we maintain this, and this energy actually does contribute. There.